If you have ever set up a booth at a market, you know that what may start out as a small, simple booth with just a few products, it's going to change and it's going to grow. And honestly, it should. Back in August of 2020, when I set up my first booth for the very first time at my very first farmer's market, I had no clue not only what I was doing, but frankly, what I was getting myself into. And what my booth looks like now looks absolutely nothing like what it looked like when I started all of this. Because businesses grow, they evolve. You learn what works and you learn what doesn't. And sometimes change is just necessary. Sometimes life happens that requires you to make changes. It's just the way that it works. So I thought today I would take you through the evolution of my booths. And let me tell you, there has been a lot of changes. Just ask my husband, he makes all of my displays for me. So whether you are a new vendor who is trying to figure all of this out, or if you're a seasoned vendor who's thinking about change, I hope this helps to show you that change isn't always just okay, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary. So let's get into it. This was my very first booth back in August 2020. Just jewelry. And honestly, I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, they had visual appeal. I thought it had visual appeal. The video isn't the best as far as giving the whole spectrum of the booth. But what I did is I took two tables and I had them up at the very front of my booth. So the front of the table was aligned with the front of the legs of the 10 by 10 pop-up that I had. And not only did I not take into consideration all of the real estate that I was not using with my 10 by 10 booth, but it was August in Western Slope, Colorado, and it was hot, and I was hoarding the shade all to myself. The consumers had to come up to the front, and they had no shade. Everything, it just no, it just was not good. But like I said, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just was willy-nilly, just like, I think this is gonna work. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. It wasn't my finest moment, but we all have to start somewhere, right? We do. And it's all a learning process. And that's why I'm making this video. And then, so there was the jewelry itself. I thought the display was nice. It was pretty. The colors were contrasting. It was like my branding colors, all of that. My husband made me out of trees the displays that my jewelry hung on, which goes along with my branding and all of that. But it was kind of chaotic and crammed together. And I had no pricing signs. I spent so long with no prices on any item ever. And somebody would say, "How much is this?" And I'd be like, "Look at my phone. Hold on. Let me scroll through my Square checkout thing. And oh, it's this much." And they'd either kind of lose interest or you get that shock value of how much that it cost. And it was kind of a disaster and slightly chaotic. But you learn and you adapt and you grow. And even though it wasn't perfect from the get go, it's inspired my process of learning to adapt and grow and just make it better. At the beginning of this video, I said that sometimes life happens. And to me, it happened very tragically and unexpectedly. My first market was August of 2020. And just 3 months later in October, I lost my daughter. And with that loss, I lost my spark for jewelry making. My creative spark was gone, understandably so. And jewelry making was something that I loved so much, so much. But it's just it's not there anymore, and it was gone. It was gone. So I don't have any pictures of my booth from 2021 at all, and frankly, I was barely making it. My jewelry inventory that I had was insanely low, and my motivation was even lower. I mean, to run a small business, I was working through grief. You know, I will always be a grieving parent, but the first year was brutal. So it was really, really hard. But I also knew that I didn't want to give up my business. So that's where I started, also in 2021, is where I started formulating my candle recipe and making candles. And just, I had to completely change and revamp my booth space. So the next picture that I have of my booth is from August of 2022. And as you can see, there's a lot going on here. Um, you can see that I obviously went all black, and now looking back into it, I can't imagine why it was all black. It could have nothing to do with grieving, but you know, it is what it is. My jewelry is still there, but it's dwindling, and I know it's going to go away at this point. And I also started adding new things. I started making incense. My husband started welding some metal arts in displays and things, and they were gorgeous. And I even got a Cricut, and I made mugs and towels and decals, just all things that I was really hoping to bring energy to my booth, because I knew jewelry wasn't going to do it for me anymore. Visually, it wasn't quite there. It felt broken up with the all black and then the wooden displays. It was all very disconnected. I had more products, but it wasn't really cohesive, and I don't feel that it was really inviting. My mindset back then was that my business name is Winter Moon Gifts, and I should offer a variety of gift type of stuff, but the booth just the booth display, it wasn't there. But this still was in an important phase, I suppose, because I was still hard at it trying to keep my business thriving. And I was also learning and evolving and figuring out what worked and what didn't. Honestly, the mugs, the decals, the towels, and the welded metal did not move at all, but my candles exploded with sales. And so it was progress, and progress is what matters. And sometimes with progress, you end up in what I like to call my disaster booth phase. Oh my gosh. It's kind of what happens when you try to do too much all at once. And I'm sorry, I know you see me looking this way. It's because I'm looking at a picture of the booth. It's so bad. Here it is. Okay, all over the place. So at this point, I had dabbled in macrame, which, spoiler alert, did not work out for me. It's fine. And I also had some leftover jewelry. You can see in the left-hand corner there a ton of rings. And I still have some of the bags. You can see one bag, the white bag, hanging. Yeah. Yeah. But and I also I also this is when I started making the metal art. So I was trying to display it with this plastic lattice, which I think the idea and the concept was there. The execution was not. It just didn't work. It was so flimsy, and the metal art was so heavy that it just completely, no matter how hard I tried, it just buckled. It buckled that lattice, and it did not look good at all. No cohesion, no flow, just a chaotic mashup of let's try everything and see what sticks. And I'm sure that's probably how customers felt too, honestly. It just, oh man, it did not invite confident shoppers. I'm actually pretty sure the day that I took this picture, the event that I was at, my sales were minuscule. But you know what? That phase, it was absolutely necessary because it was part of me just really starting to like figure things out. This was the moment when I was like, my booth needs to be epic. It is equally as important as the quality of my product. My booth has to be epic. So I was figuring things out and I was really good at kind of figuring out what didn't work. So now I'm in the process of trying to figure out what does work. So by 2024, things were starting to honestly take shape as far as where I was at with my business. My booth had the main table in the center where I displayed my candles and the last of my incense because that is no longer a thing. And on the sides, my metal art was getting a good display in the spotlight I felt like it deserved. But the problem with this is the paneling, you could see through it. It just too much noise and it's too distracting. Absolutely too distracting background noise. It completely took away from the metal art. But I knew this is where my business needed to go. I knew that these were the things that I needed to focus on, the things that sold. My candles, my home fragrance, and the metal art. It's the things that people connected with the most. But obviously, I'm still not happy with how it looked. But I just I just didn't have that wow factor yet. Yet. At some point, I am going to get there. I absolutely am going to get there. So, over the last few months, I have been putting a ton of thought into my booth display because it is just so important. It is. And so, yesterday, after some trial and errors and creating some new displays, and it was a nice day, so I went outside and I set up my booth. And here is where we're at today. Updated booth number, I don't even know how many. It has evolved over the years, that is for sure. Of course, I'm keeping my A-frame with my wind spinners display. I love it. And I did not want to put every single piece of metal art up. I do have enough metal art to fill both of these walls, but man, I'm out of shape. Plus, having to truck it from the house to out back here and not let the dogs out, that was kind of a bit of a challenge. But anyway, obviously, when I'm at a market, these will be full. And I feel like the background noise of the backyard is not so different from the background noise that I have at markets. So I think this is a proper representation of what it will look like. I have my mirror. Shut up, you look good. This has been fun. I don't offer apparel or anything like that yet. I may add some of my Winter Moon Gifts swag, like shirts, hats, sweaters, stuff like that. But this is just fun because to watch people laugh at it and then take selfies. And then, of course, I ask them to tag me in the Instagram or the Facebook or whatever, the social medias. So there is that. Some things I'm really happy with, other things I just need help on still. So I did make these new signs, one for each side. that aligns with my branding and my brand story, the font, the colors, all of that good stuff, but letting consumers know that I offer so much more than what can be seen here. I do custom orders. I have my pricing. I am definitely going to have to get some kind of little basket or cubby or something for the air freshies and the wax sachets. I know that that looks awful. The wind is just going to blow those away. So that's going to have to change. Once my last 3 pendants sell, those are done. No more jewelry for Winter Moon gifts. And I am thinking I'm going to need to get like some multi-tiered, maybe the white acrylic stands for the dice. I don't like how the dice look just spread out on the table. I need to make some more different colors F-Bomb bottle openers, but I'm digging the new checkout stand. And then the candles with pricing. I can fit 4, and I probably will, just to try to help with some of that background noise and to be able to hold more stock. But I think those look so much better than when I had them on my table. And I am thinking once the pendants are gone, I may even get a smaller table. I'll talk about that in a minute. Other things I need help on, I wish there was a way to tie down these to where they could be flat. I know I can curtain it. I don't really want to. I guess I don't know why, but it's probably what I'm going to have to end up doing. And I also don't really care for the ratchet straps. So that's what these are for. I may use those again to just tie this down because Western Colorado is windy, windy. And if it gets, that'll happen at markets. So I need to keep these somewhat stiff. The less they move, the better. But I'm not really a fan of the ratchet straps. So, oh, and the rigid boxes, they are so handy for storing my stuff and transporting my stuff, but they are ugly. I don't know what to do about those. I could possibly hide them behind the wall, but then it'll most likely be in the sunshine, and one of those rigid boxes holds my candles, so that doesn't work out very well. But that is where this display, my booth, where it's at right now. Oh, I was talking about the smaller table. So reason being is because I have to be able to, oop, let me get this set up, sorry. I have to be able to come into the main area of my booth from back. And this is a tight squeeze. And I slid the table over and I had the 2 shelves together, but I hated how it looked. I didn't like how it looked at all. But there are often times that I am back here behind my table and somebody is looking at my metal art, and with the shade, they can't see how it color shifts or the effects that it has on it. So I'll be like, oh, yeah, this Highland cow, yeah, it's great. Wait until you see it in the sunshine. And then I show it to them in the sunshine. So I have to be able to move. Plus, I like coming out here and, interacting with the customers and the clients and whatnot, plus restocking my shelves. So being able to come in and out is essential. And there you have it. It is so much closer to What I've been envisioning, I have the backing for my metal art. There's no more like super distractions in the background to steal the show from what I'm trying to sell. The shelving units, I'm really excited about. That is going to showcase home fragrances, displays on my table. I think that's going to be good. Plus a checkout stand. I always thought it was kind of silly, but I get it now. Like I feel like a checkout stand is actually kind of important, a space for them to check out, chat with me, and possibly, even look at the items that I have on my booth, plus interact and find my social media and my YouTubes and all of that kind of stuff. It is not quite there yet. I have not had the wow, yes, this is it moment. But you know what? I am closer. And that's really the thing about evolving as a vendor. If your business is evolving and growing, your booth has to be too. It's never done in some degree, right? I feel like it should grow with you and change as you learn and refine and figure out exactly what works. And honestly, that's kind of part of the fun of it. Looking back, looking back at my first market in 2020 to now, it's my booth has changed a lot. A lot. I feel like it's understandably slow. Life kind of made me slow in the game, but the important thing is I am figuring it out now. Um, the biggest revelation that I had is that you can have the highest quality of product and it could be the best thing on this planet. But if you're selling in markets or pop-up shops, if your booth doesn't reflect that quality, it's not going to draw people in. It is a reflection of your business and sometimes even your personal journey, really. And it's okay to, go through the process and figure out the things that work and don't work and to pivot. It's okay if your setup isn't perfect yet. What matters is that you are looking forward to that perfect setup. Because trust me, I think none of us get it right the first time, or the second, or the third. Just kind of is what it is at this point. But every vision of your booth is a step forward, and that's what matters.